Thanks for joining us. America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani.
Hello, this is America's Mayor Live, and we're coming to you live from Florida again. You see the beautiful background, or the dark background, I guess. You also see over my left shoulder the once that existed Chinese balloon. And you see that it has a lot of apparatus with it, too. I guess they were just out for a Chinese joyride, the CCP. A little float around. What the heck? What's a little balloon surveilling America for days and days and days with all kinds of, one would imagine, highly sophisticated equipment, probably stolen from the United States, because they can't invent a damn thing, you know that. Probably stolen from the United States. I'm glad I wasn't in Montana. Probably got some pictures. Wow. What a thing, huh? And what an administration, not even telling us about it until they got caught. That's what you got in Washington, right? You got these balloons flying over us from a country that wants to overtake us. The head of the country is a dictator who's killed tens of millions of people. Wants to be the head country in the world in 2048. He's built his military already and passed the United States Navy. That's a disgrace, isn't it? They're headed on their way to pass our military. Biden's doing, you know what that is? No, actually, it's minus that because he's demoralizing them too. And then he lets them fly a balloon over for days and days and days. I don't know. I guess if you give him an air base, give up an air base 400 miles from China with $75 billion worth of offensive equipment that terrorists can use and that will no longer threaten China, you'll do almost anything, right? So let's get the history of this, because this is getting extraordinarily complicated. And it's beginning to get into the fourth level of lie by Biden. Can you even watch his press secretary? She lies so often. I don't know whichever one's up there, actually. It's not just Pierre. It's the other one from the State Department and the guy from the guy from the Defense Department or State Department who comes on. That's when they have to tell the really big lies. They bring him out. Well, they knew about this thing before they told us, the people. So when did this first show up? Well, we'll never really probably know. We'll never probably really not know. But it first showed up somewhere off the Aleutian Islands. Now, this I'm not sure this map I'm going to show you right now is actually right on target with it. But let's see. We're going to have to go back here. Okay, now, there's the upper United States. You'll see right out here the Aleutian Islands. Okay, now, you know that's about, 50, 80, 90 miles from Russia? And in between the two, there's an island, actually, that makes it even closer. Right across there, right across there is Russia. So I actually do think, having found another map that I don't have up on the screen, but that I'm going to put here for now. Okay, here's another map. I've collected many of them to try to see. Notice this one here. Can we show this one? So you'll notice this one shows that it started somewhere below. It started south. It's not on the map here. It started somewhere down here. What would be somewhere down here? Came up here. So there was a good deal of time it was over water before it hit the Aleutians. And then when it hit the Aleutian Islands, and then came up into first southern and then northern Alaska, you had a disproportionate amount, of we want to make sure we don't have any trouble with our phones.
Thanks for joining us. America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani.
Are they all on now?
They're on, and it's been good. That's why we had both mics there. Your sound's been great tonight, Mayor.
Okay, we want to make sure because we had one night when. Oh yeah, we are. But right now, the point that I'm trying to make is we don't know how long they were out over that ocean. If you look at this map, which we've probably done to appease the Biden administration, it makes it look like it just started off at the Aleutian Islands. But if you look at the other map, you will see, and of course it doesn't make sense because it came from China. If you look at the other map, you'll see it came from well south of the Aleutian Islands. And it had to come all the way across from China, which means we had to have a tremendous amount of notice of this thing. Unless we're sleeping. I mean, could our military? No, our military isn't sleeping like Joe, right? I mean, we don't have to count on Joe to do this. If we did, we might as well cave in. But question is, let's start off with the main question. What the hell do we let it come into the United States for? Are we crazy? Did you see the payload on it? What do you think that stuff's for? Gifts? A piñata? So it starts off there, okay? And this is February 1st. This is February 1st. At some point on February 1st, here's what it looked like at that point. Again, we'll get another look at it. You'll see the at least almost half this of the one side of the circumference of it is taken up by the payload. So they have a lot of instruments on there. And the instruments are obviously spying. That's it. Relaying in real time as Dr. Maria. So they come across Alaska. Come across Alaska. Let me do it on here so you see it better. They come across Alaska. Okay. And while they're in Alaska, I mean, we're now ready for them at the border, right? Now you tell me this is too dangerous to take them down. Now, first of all, if we haven't figured out how to take one of these balloons down safely by now, we're in a lot of trouble. We're in a lot of trouble. And if we can't figure out how to take it down over the vast empty land of southwestern Canada and northwestern United States, then we're really in a lot of trouble. This thing was coming in over Montana, not New York City or Chicago. But like we let the illegal immigrants in, we let the illegal Chinese in so they could take pictures of us. Are we crazy? Have we really lost it? You see them standing right there, right there, right there. You're in Canada. This is our border. We used to have a border. One of these days, these will just like that right out. They're coming over the Canadian border now. So illegals come over. Fentanyl comes over from China to kill us. And MS-13 people come over from China to chop the heads of our little girls off. They're bankrupting our cities. They're destroying our coherence as a nation because we no longer have a border. You can't have a country without a border. My goodness, I mean, you know what this is like down here. And now we even let spy aircraft come over the United States. This was January. This was February 1st, Wednesday, February 1st. So now we're like 3-4 days into this. They're having a field day. They must have been saying, we'll just keep going until the guy they have no respect for wakes up. Here they are spotted over Montana. So now you see that by floating over Billings, Montana, all right, we scrambled a team of F-22 fighters because they were over a nuclear base housing 150 Minutemen ICBMs. Oh, let them take pictures of that. What the heck? Isn't it Biden who told us about 1.5 years, 2 years ago that China's our friend? I guess he'd look at it that way with all the money they gave him. By the 3rd of February, they had made it to Kansas City, Missouri. There you go. They were able to photograph a good swath of America, weren't they? Look at that. All that. And now you'll see on that day, also on Friday, we spotted a second balloon that was spotted over Colombia and also over Costa Rica, presumably the same balloon, headed our way. I guess the Chinese figured, hey, you're going to let us take pictures of the north, we'll take pictures of the south. What the heck? There are a lot of air bases up there, a lot of air bases in the south, a lot of military bases in the south, a lot of military facilities in the south. What the heck? Joe, you're going to let us take pictures of everything? Might as well take your clothes off for us. And finally, off the shores of Myrtle Beach, we take it down. It doesn't do any damage to anything. No damages. F-22 jets on Saturday near the coast of Myrtle Beach, California. And that's where it comes down. And take a look. The other one, I don't have any information on what's happened to the other one. I guess, it's entitled to its 10 days of taking pictures with the deal that they have with Biden. He says that he ordered it shot down before that, but the military didn't want to do it. Well, first of all, I don't believe anything he says. And number two, I thought he was the commander-in-chief. I thought it worked like the other way around. And he's got Miley there. I wouldn't trust Miley as far as I could throw him. This is the guy that was going to warn China.
General Milley.
Milley. Oh, I call him Miley. What is it, 2 L's?
Yeah.
General
Milley. Said, Mayor.
I have great respect for the general. I also have a question about why he would have informed the Chinese if Trump had decided to attack them. He's a traitor. Well, I don't know about that, but that sure required a hell of an investigation, doesn't it? It sure requires a hell of an investigation if you're going to warn the Chinese. I don't know. Wonder if he's the one who said you got to wait until they are not over land. There's not enough empty land in the middle of the United States to take this damn thing down without hurting anything. You got to be kidding me. Do you think now we could learn how to take one of these things down without doing damage? So what's going on here? So then we have the group of lies. Now, then the lies start. Oh, this happened 3 times under Trump and once before under Biden. And once before under Biden, it now turns out they blew it up. They never told us, the American people. There's a reason to cover this up. Now here's another question. Apparently they never told Trump. And that isn't just Trump. That's Trump, Bolton, everyone in his administration. Grinnell.
It's a lie. The NORMAD director is saying it never happened.
And the NOMAD director, right? Yep. Says it never happened. That it's a Pentagon lie from the politicized Biden Pentagon that will lie for him. They put it out right away. Pentagon, New York Times, unacknowledged sources, happened 3 times. You know, it's like Biden's real worried he's going to get blamed for being a lazy, useless, completely incompetent president again. He just had America photographed by the Chinese in living color. I mean, it's not enough that he has his son probably copying classified documents for him. I mean, China had to be getting something for the 31 million, right? Right. They weren't getting Hunter's genius. I mean, if Hunter were a genius, it wouldn't work because he's all the time. And Joe, we know, Joe left back in the 3rd grade. Joe's not a genius. You know what they were getting. And it's starting to come together, isn't it? Isn't it? They actually think they can fly surveillance. I mean, we almost had a world war when the U-2 plane was caught over Russia by a leader in Russia named Khrushchev, who was a very bad man, but knew how to protect his country and made sure that we understood that better not happen again. Or we better not get caught again. So now we really do have to know. How many times has this happened? How many times have they failed to tell the president? If it did happen under Trump, it is clear they never told him, and they never told his staff. They never told Pompeo, the Secretary of State. They never told Bolton, the National Security Advisor. They never told the head of NORAD. They never told the head of National Security. They never told Radcliffe. They never told anyone they can find in the Trump administration, including people now that are bitter toward Trump and would be willing to say he pumped out on doing something with China. Bolton has said things equivalent to that, right? Now the question becomes, what about that first one with Biden? What about the first one? There was an earlier balloon. According to the reports that you can't believe, you have to just take them at face value for now, just like everything else they say it will change. But they say they blew it up. Now, did Biden blow it up? Did Biden know about it? Seemed kind of surprised about this one. Seemed like he didn't know about other ones. Seemed like the Secretary of State didn't know what the hell he was doing. Secretary of State, I mean, they were going to keep this quiet. Just think of the priorities among these people who put America so far last. I don't even think we exist on their priority list. They didn't want to interrupt the meeting that Blinken was going to have with his equal in China. They didn't want to interrupt Blinken's trip. Poor little Blinken would have to stay home. Gee, he'd be disappointed. Wouldn't be able to take his trip. You know, he's the guy that runs that institute that China pays for. a lot of these guys work for China. What do you think? Am I being too nasty now?
No.
Oh, my. So it says they wanted to test Mr. Biden. Well, they did. And they found out exactly what Putin found out. America does not have a president. America elected a fraud, fraudulently. Here's a picture of Bolton and the article about Bolton saying, no how, no way. Pompeo, same thing, no how, no way. So those two guys don't agree on anything. And the president came out immediately saying it didn't happen. And you know what we found out in all of this? President tells the truth. President's the truth. He's the one who said there was no Russian collusion, and Biden was the one who said there was. Trump was telling the truth. So was Giuliani. Biden was lying. We're the ones who said that the hard drive was real. Biden said during a debate that I was a Russian agent. It was Russian collusion. That's a big lie. Give me a couple of examples later on in the show. Text in a couple of times when Biden told the truth. Let's see if we can find out if they're lies too.
Comment below. Let us know a time when Joe Biden told the truth.
Yeah.
Really try and give us a real answer here.
So
We love to have fun here, but let's see if we can come up with something.
Okay. So we have the State of the Union coming up. Wonder what kind of medications. I tried to get Dr. Maria on tonight. She's here with the audience and might say a few words if we prod her. But I just keep wondering what kind of medications they give this guy, because I'm going to ask you to think along with me for a minute, okay? When you see him, aren't there times he looks okay? You know, like I don't know if he ever looks okay. He always looks scrawny and kind of angry now. But there are times in which he looks okay. And then there are times he looks bad. And then there are times he looks like he's warmed over dead. There are times in which he makes some sense for a short while. He always goes off a little after a couple of minutes. But then there are times in which he can't even get past a minute. I mean, like the one the other day was Secretary of the Military. He can't get Austin's name right. Somehow he doesn't want to remember Austin. Used to be he couldn't get his name. Now he can't get his title. Geez, I'd love to examine his brain. Probably wouldn't take long. It wouldn't take a long time, right, Ted? What do you think? That could be like the quickest brain examination one ever made.
It'll be interesting to see if they can hold on until November 2024. I may be cynical, but I'm not sure his handlers care too much what happens as long as they can get him through re-election.
So?
What are your thoughts on that? Is that too cynical?
No, I think you're right. No.
If they think they can get him through November, why go with somebody else when, at least from their perspective, he's in the White House now, right? So in 2020, something,
The real reason for that is they don't have anybody. I mean, the Republicans have a group of, and I'm not going to, if I name 4 or 5, then I'm going to leave out 4 or 5 of my friends. They're going to be, angry. Aside from President Trump, who is still my number one. But, should President Trump for some reason decide not to do it, or God forbid get sick like any man, you got a hell of a bench. I mean, you've got people who have demonstrated substantial achievement in public office. Some I like more than others. Some I trust more than others, but none of them are a Biden to start. None of them are Krugs to start with. None of them were left back in the third grade and cheated in law school and plagiarized as senators and took $30 million from China and, can't pronounce the Pledge of Allegiance. And I mean, they're all normal human beings with a normal brain, and most of them are bright as hell. They've got different philosophies, different personalities, different levels of loyalty. But I could even expand it beyond 5, maybe into 10 that you could think of for president. I'm having a hard time with 1 for them. I mean, you want Newsom? You want a dictator like we had in you want to elect a president where people are fleeing his state in record numbers. What's going to happen? People are going to flee America in record state. The migrants will come in and the other people will leave.
Two-part question.
With a guy like that, this guy is like left of left. And didn't he go into rehab for dope at one point? Newsom?
Who's that?
Alcohol. I don't remember.
I'll look into that.
Remember, when he was married to Kimberly Guilfoyle, there was an alleged affair, and he checked himself in for daytime rehab. Sex addiction. Was it sex addiction? Okay.
The San Francisco Examiner wrote in February of 2007 that Newsom entered an outpatient alcohol rehab clinic. But we have another story now in 2018. These are next to each other when you Google it. From the Sacramento Bee stating that Gavin Newsom didn't really go to rehab. Must have been around some sort of time for election season.
It sounds like Hunter. Hunter never went to rehab either. I wonder if he hung out with Hunter.
So comment below if we could have 2 presidents. So President Trump, who else do you like in the Republican field? If you could have 2 presidents, because our audience, Mayor, I think is overwhelmingly with President Trump. If you could have 2.
Give me a Democrat that you think, forget ideology. Give me a Democrat who you think is qualified to be president. I will categorically state, and nor do I think I'll get much contradiction, that Joe Biden is not qualified to be president of the United States by virtue of mental incompetence. Also, I will tell you by virtue of such low IQ numbers that you can't even find them. I've known the man for 35 to 40 years, and he's the dumbest human being I've ever met. And I will tell you, I disqualify him before he became demented based on being just plain dopey. Now, and Gates told you that in a much nicer way when he said, he's been in government all his life and he's never been right about a single matter of foreign policy. He's trying to tell you in a nice way. So he didn't have to stick it in your face. The guy's a dope. Okay, he's not qualified to be president. The guy shouldn't run anything. He can't run anything. The only thing he can run is a crime family where everybody else collects the money for him.
We're getting a lot of participation on this. So real quick, comment below who concerns you on the left, not whether you like him or not. Who concerns you outside of Joe Biden? If they were to run, you'd know we would really have to make sure all of our people are out to vote. Who concerns you in the Democrat Party in 2024 if it's not Biden? Comment below. Join the conversation.
Who concerns you? Who do you think do the job of being president? Well, I'm asking one question.
Yeah.
Who do you think has the qualifications to be president on the Democratic side? The qualifications based on the job they have done in another public office. The way, for example, let's say if DeSantis ran, he'd say, look at my record as governor, or in business, right? Or as Ronald Reagan did when he ran, or even Bill Clinton, who was governor of a small state, but governor. Who has a good record? I mean, the states that have the Democratic governors are the states that are close to bankrupt. People are leaving, and crime is going nuts in the cities in their states. So there isn't much to choose from, ladies and gentlemen. There is not much to choose from. I don't know. I guess it'll emerge because Rudy doesn't believe that Biden's going to be there. How do you like it? I don't think he's going to make it. I just think there's going to be a point at which they just can't prop him up anymore. They can't prop him up anymore. What are they going to do? Put up a stick and put up a scarecrow?
They would if they could.
When he stops talking, it's over. The board is over when he stops talking, which I think will happen. Now, we have the State of the Union, and I have a wonderful little article I pulled out that I'm going to use for myself tomorrow when we cover this. And we'll be on, it's at 9 o'clock tomorrow, right, Ted?
That's right.
So we'll be on before, and I'm going to make a checklist for you. So you come on here before the State of the Union, and I'm gonna put on here for you on the screen here. I'm gonna put a nice little checklist for you, but I'm gonna crib a lot of it, but I'm not going to plagiarize because I'm gonna give credit for it. And actually, I'll see if I can get Steve on tomorrow, either on the radio during the daytime or tomorrow night. Probably tomorrow night I don't want to listen to this, but maybe he'll come on. Stephen Moore. Stephen Moore wrote a nice, short, concise article in the Post today in which he says, get set for Joe's lies. And he has six that he predicts. So I think tomorrow night it would be very interesting to have a little checklist and see how many his lies he tells. Lie number one, Biden has reduced the budget deficit by 1.4 trillion. He raised it to 2.8 trillion, which was a record. And yes, it's gone down to 1.4 trillion, but that's the second highest on record. So based on from when Trump was in office, he's raised the budget deficit dramatically. He just raised it so high, it was impossible to keep it up that high the second year. But his 1.4 trillion is a record, but he's going to say he reduced it because he raised it so high that he reduced it from having raised it so high. That's cute, huh? And by the way, our debt as a share of our gross domestic product hit an all-time high of 129%. That means we owe more than we have. So that we'll see if he tells that lie. He keeps saying it. Does he say it on national television? You know, they don't do the Pinocchios anymore because he's a Democratic president. And anyway, there's no point in doing the Pinocchios. What you really would have to do is cite the occasional times he's telling the truth. Like I still haven't gotten anybody to give me an example of that. Biden inherited an economy in freefall. Well, first of all, the economy before the pandemic was the best it was in 50 years. But here's the really interesting part. Even with a very short period of time, Trump had it back. The second half of 2020, the economy was growing by more than 20%. Millions of Americans were moving back into their jobs. I mean, and the reason he had so many jobs was people were moving back into jobs when he came into office, jobs that had been taken away because of the pandemic. But the difference between when they were moving into jobs under Trump, the economy was growing under Trump. Under him, the economy was declining, and the jobs were beginning all of a sudden to pay less. Yeah. Unemployment went down, but real wages went way down because of inflation. Inflation was high when Biden entered office. I mean, that is about as big a lie as you can get. It was 1.4% when he came into office. Within 18 months, it was at 9%. Right now, it's at 7%. That's what, 9 times, 7 times, 6 times what it was under Trump. But he'll lie about it and he'll say inflation is down because he got it up to 9%. It's now down to 6.5%. But it used to be 1.4. He'll say he got it down. No, that's 6 times more than Trump. Biden. Biden is doing all he can to secure the border. I don't really have to even answer that, do I? Do I, really? I'll let that get answered tomorrow night. And Biden is increasing domestic oil and gas production. He's actually producing 2 to 3 million barrels a day less than Trump, and has made us energy dependent when we were energy independent. So those are the lies that Stephen Moore, and I'll have a couple of my own. We'll come up with 10. I'll come up with a couple of my own, probably having to do with this. When he's going to lie his head off about this balloon, and so he'll stay away from. He will stay away from talking about the hard drive and stuff like that. But, you know, if he talked about that, he'd just lie. So we got any questions, Ted? And do we have a napkin somewhere? Since I just dropped.
Thanks for joining us. America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani. Mayor, have you been to a State of the Union? And if so, can you kind of talk about what that means for a president and kind of what the purpose is from his perspective?
I was at, no, I don't think I've been at a State of the Union, come to think of it. I was at the speech that President Bush gave. I was at the speech that President Bush gave after September 11th. That was a joint session of Congress. And I was at some other speech involving a joint session of Congress with Ronald Reagan, but I can't remember it now. But I don't think I was at a State of the Union speech. I don't think so. I mean, I've commented on them often on television, like on NBC and CBS, where they used to have me on. I was there in the White House for one of President Trump's, but I don't think I've been in a State of the Union.
So comment below. We're getting.
What does it mean for a president? What it usually means for a president is for him to set his agenda, for him to. I mean, I gave 8 State of the City speeches, which are similar, obviously not of the same magnitude, but I gave them in January every year, and I spent 3 months preparing it. I used it as a way of setting the agenda for my administration. Having watched President Reagan prepare his State of the Union speech, which I was a small part of several times, I decided to use that opportunity that we were going to speak to the people in a very formal way to get all of my agencies to submit what they wanted to do next year, along with the budget. We would do both, not at the same time, but similar way. So they would each give me their wish list. And then at the same time, since I didn't want some kind of, since I'm not a Democrat, I didn't want an unrealistic wish list, how they were going to finance it. And then we would battle that out in October, November. The hearing started in October for the State of the Union. December, try to get it done like 2 weeks before Christmas, take a little time off, and then take 2 weeks after Christmas and get it finished up. And then give the speech sometime in January. Maybe it stretched to February once. First time I gave it, I think I gave it in February because you just get sworn in, I think. But I did some very, very interesting things. I mean, I announced very big initiatives there. I mean, first year I announced all the big crime initiatives. Things that you talk about now, CompStat, broken windows theory, career criminal program, behind closed doors, which was an initiative to end domestic violence or to control domestic violence. And then after 2 or 3 years of giving, I decided to go dramatic and give it without a podium or notes. And it was 1 hour and 20 minutes.
We have an interesting question, Mayor. I didn't notice this. I'm not sure if you or Dr. Maria
I
did.
think Biden could do that. I think Biden could get in the well of the House and explain what the programs of his administration are. You know, if you can't do it, you should get the hell out of office. If you can't get up and explain, I don't say you have to give the State of the Union speech that way because it is a formal thing. But if you can't get up, like Obama used to do this, he'd have the stupid teleprompters on every time he spoke. I never spoke with teleprompters. I talked to the reporters. I had a brain.
He's got a question for you, Mayor.
Yeah.
So I haven't noticed this, but Rob asks, did you guys ever notice that both of Biden's houses looked very unkept? The landscaping exterior veneer looked like, I don't want to say this word, but looked very lowbrow with a lot of stuff laying around. I found that a little funny.
Not uncommon for drug dealers. No, I'm serious. I mean, you can't imagine how many drug dealers' houses and mansions that I've had search warrants executed on. You'd be shocked at the condition of their. But his son owns the house. Well, his son's not a drug dealer; he's a drug user. But I don't know. Wasn't he a drug dealer when he was giving his sister-in-law drugs? Isn't that a drug dealer? Well, maybe I'm being a little too technical, but isn't he? Isn't he the one who got his sister-in-law Haley?
I mean, parents know what their kids are up to, right? For the most part.
Well, if they didn't know,
yeah.
Shall we take the pictures out? You want to look at the house? The house half the time looks like it's on fire. It's got smoke coming out of the windows. Smoke coming out of the guy goes into. The guy goes into closets and lights them up with kids in the house. This is a creepy family.
So thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live. Be sure to go to rudygiulianics.com. rudygiulianics.com. We have some great podcasts out there, and you're really going to want to tune in for these next few weeks. We have some, we're not going to say anything tonight, but some very special podcasts that we know our audience is going to love. And those are coming up here in the next few weeks.
Soon is the Super Bowl.
Sunday.
And the Super Bowl is very special because we have two brothers, one on each side.
Kelsey.
Yeah.
Travis Kelsey and
Kelsey
his brother
brothers.
and his brother's a lineman for the Eagles.
Center, all pro.
Oh yeah, these are
tight
good.
End, all pro. All pro.
There's a
not just like
there's a petition online that's reached hundreds of thousands, and they want their mom to flip the coin. Let's see if the NFL can have a little fun and join in. It'll be interesting to see if they do that.
I would personally like to see the Kelsey family be the halftime show, like sing songs.
Well, yeah.
Tell us about them instead of who's it going to be? Some Hollywood.
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes it's football used to be great about bringing veterans or police officers. The NFL was great about that until maybe in the more recent years. Not to make this political, but
yeah, I mean the chances they're going to bring in
veterans.
Who are they going to have?
The halftime show. I'll look this up. I believe it might be Beyonce. Comment below if you know who the halftime show is this year. We'll Google it. We'll DuckDuckGo it.
The NBA, they'd bring in
a balloon, a Chinese spy balloon.
Yeah, they bring in a Chinese spy balloon.
We'll do a couple laps around the court.
The CCP traveling dances. Right?
I wonder if LeBron James had anything to say about this recent controversy with the spy balloon. I'm sure he's asking people, hey, we don't know everything yet. Maybe we shouldn't be talking too much at a turn.
I think he was in favor. Wasn't he in favor? They're giving him information so he can sell sneakers.
Thanks for joining us. A very busy evening across platforms. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Getter. So you can find us across platforms. What's your Super Bowl pick, Mayor? Chiefs favored right now by, I believe, 1.5 points. You can think about that. Maybe we'll release that information tomorrow. Look, the mayor is a sports guy. If you want, look,
I don't bet. few times that I bet, I used to place bets for my uncle when he was in the hospital, and I didn't know where to place the bets. It was when the Giants won the Super Bowl, the second time against
2011.
Yeah. My uncle died that year, and he was in the hospital dying, and he used to bet, and he was a police officer and an army hero and a police hero. He used to bet on the games. And I don't know, he probably had a bookie, but since I was a U.S. attorney, I never wanted to bother with any of those people. So he'd only bet like $20 or $30. So he would give me the money, and I would never go bet. So I'd have to pay him.
If you won?
Like one time he won $1,000. I had to give him $1,000.
That's amazing and not surprising. Those of us that know the mayor, we're not surprised that he's not the biggest fan of sports gambling.
No, I'm not. I went to a college, Manhattan College, and one of the heroes of the college was Junius Kellogg. And Junius Kellogg was a basketball player who the mob broke his legs and made him cripple because he wouldn't shave points. And
so let's give it context.
I just from then on, as a young man, so it always brought up Junius Kellogg to me. And then I get if I was gonna bet at all, like with a friend, it would have to be they're gonna win or the Yankees are gonna win or the Red Sox are gonna win. We bet $5. This point thing drives me nuts. I want to root for a team to win, not to win by a certain number of points or lose by a certain number of points. That's crazy. The game's over. My team wins, but now they got to get another touchdown so that I can win my bet. I don't like the concept of points, and then I just think it's a toxic mixture. I'm not dead set against it. It's not like drugs, but I don't think it's a safe thing. And I also think the mayor of New York City is building New York City on a foundation of casino gambling, cannabis, and basic disrespect for the law. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere. That isn't how to build a strong foundation for the future. I mean, think about it. For New York City to make money on gambling and for New York City to make money on cannabis, because not all cities do. Cities have put in gambling and not made money. People have to gamble a lot, and people have to buy a lot of dope. Now, what does that mean if people gamble a lot? And if people buy a lot of dope, even more than they're buying now, so the city can get big tax revenues? It means you got a city where people are walking around blot up, right? And broke. Nice. That isn't how great cities were built. This place, Sodom and Gomorrah, was built, but not great cities. To be the leader of a city or a state or a country, God has to impart you with something called wisdom. It's missing among Democrats. Has been for some time. Only one way to bring it back, ladies and gentlemen. Throw them out. What do you keep voting for them for? You voted for Adams. Okay, this year now he's saying that crime in the subway is down. It is. Crime on the street is up. Where are we going? Police officer gets shot the other day. I mean, look at the guy. Look at the old man that was beaten up. Just puts his face in the little candy store, and they beat him up. People are leaving New York City in droves. I'm here in Florida. That's all they talk to me about. I mean, we have to do one show, don't we, Ted? I don't want to do it. I don't want to advertise against New York. But I mean, we could. How many people could we put on here that would tell you why they left New York? I mean, it would be. I'd have a lineup. I'd have a lineup of things that had to be fixed, and it isn't just one thing. You know, you think it's just a crime. It's not. It's the schools are terrible, and Adams has double-crossed them on the schools. He was supposed to provide more charter schools, and he double-crossed the Success Academy. And now he's got these parents that thought their kids were going to go to a charter school, and they're not. And Hochul is trying to get more charter schools through, and it looks like the group that defeated her on a reasonable judge are going to defeat her again. So you got crime. Maybe there's some hope that Adams can stabilize it. He's sure not going to do miracles, but he can stabilize it, maybe. But he's caved in on schools. He's got ridiculous ideas about gambling, ridiculous ideas about drugs. The city is sloppy as hell. Homelessness is way out of control. And he invited the people that he is now throwing out with the sanctuary city nonsense. You vote Democrat. That's what you get. Chicago? Do it again? I don't care. You get rid of Lightfoot. You put another Democrat. We're going to be looking at weekends of 5 murders, 10 murders, 15 murders, 20 murders, 30 murders. You need a Republican. Why? Because a Republican is not tied to the ridiculous now theories that are pro-criminal of the Democrat Party, in which that allows them to define themselves as progressive. And if you don't follow those theories, they basically kill you within the party. That's what Adams is afraid of. So that's why they're moving here in large numbers. And I think there should be part of a show dedicated to that. What do you think, Ted, before we leave?
I agree.
What do you think?
100%.
Dr. Maria?
Amen.
I think that was a yes.
Yes.
And we have some sound effects now.
That's not her. She's so gentle. Miss New Hampshire.
America's Mayor Live with America's
Hey,
Mayor
What's going
Rudy
on in New
Giuliani.
Hampshire? Okay, now I'm going to talk to the people in New Hampshire. Maria can talk to you as one of theirs. I'm half adopted, okay, but I'm going to talk to you like a New Yorker, okay? You're going to vote for these Democrats who are double crossing? First in the nation primary? These guys are going to take it away from you because you won't vote for a guy that belongs in a nursing home? I mean, because you're smart enough to see that the guy can't put 2 sentences together, that he's endangering our country with these spy balloons flying over us. What president lets spy balloons fly over his country? What president gives up an airbase from China? You're too smart for that. I know New Hampshire. You got the smartest voters in the country. Because you're first in the nation primary, you become PhDs on politics. You're a pain in the neck, but it's very valuable too. You learn a lot. And the reason they don't want to do it is not, they know you're going to rip Biden a new, like he did last time. He came in 5th, which is where he came in every election until Soros decided to buy it for him and hide everybody else and put him in a closet and back everybody out. Biden couldn't have won that on his own, that primary. He never won anything. Every time he ran for president, he never got beyond 3%. He was getting the first debate. Harris whipped his, remember? Was it during the debate that he had trouble with the national anthem or the Pledge of Allegiance? No, he had other ones. I think it was during the debate that he had that he talked about seeing Roosevelt on television. I'm pretty sure that was it. That was one of his great debate things. And then there was one where they all started. He was like going off on something or other, and they were all like laughing. We'll find those, show them to you at some point. So.
Lots of comments. We're getting a lot. One thing that came up when we had asked a number of questions at the same time, people that were replying to my question about if not Trump, who get a lot of Mayor Rudy Giuliani's in the comment section. Interestingly enough, top 3 names we saw, the mayor, Ron Paul, Rand Paul.
Rand Paul. Yeah.
Ron Paul was a few election cycles ago, but Rand Paul. And really, those are the two. I guess there were some other smatterings.
Not DeSantis.
Not a lot of DeSantis.
Seriously.
Yes, I'll go back and look. That was what I found that interesting.
Well, I mean, I think Rand Paul, and I had a really difficult debates with his father, Ron, but I think Rand Paul is a very impressive. I think he is one courageous guy. Also, they beat him up, and for the job he did on Fauci, wow. I'd have hired him as assistant U.S. attorney in a minute. No, I really do think
we got an Andrew Giuliani in there.
I think is he too young? No, he's old enough now.
35?
Yeah.
Giuliani has proven his worth, turning things around for the better. Honorable man, best New York City mayor ever. We heart you.
Well, isn't that nice? Well,
hi, Rudy. Love you. Kissy face, kissy face.
So tomorrow night, let me talk a little about tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we're going to do a pre-State of the Union. We really urge you to come and listen to us because we're going to set you up with a few things for you to evaluate it. And there may or may not be. First of all, we'll have some fun with how many lies. But we'll see if we can put a couple of things in you can look for to see where things are going. I think there's one way of telling. Also, we might be able to. He's going to have Tyree Nichols' family there. Well, I think that's appropriate. I mean, every president does that, and that's I credit that family with keeping the peace. So I'm glad that they're going to be there, and I'm glad they're going to be honored because I think Mrs. The mom, her last name is not the same as his, but she was really quite an impressive lady. And the whole family was. They were the ones that spoke. And but I mean, I think there are things you can look for in it, like we're trying to figure out how serious is he about running for re-election, because it seems to people on the outside that he really isn't capable of it, right? I mean, let's without joking around. I mean, there's a real question as to his health, his mental capacity. He doesn't. I mean, he's had the least press conferences. He's answered the least questions. He said the least of any president in modern history, at least since there was television. I mean, you'd have to go back to before there was television, and I think maybe before radio, with a president that's been this hidden. There's no question they hide him. They don't want him. Whenever he goes into an unscripted interview, anything can happen. He can be telling you he's talking to dead people. Did it twice. So it'd be interesting to listen to the speech. See how serious is it? Does he believe he can actually make it? Because the guy sometimes looks like when he turns around, he's going to fall down.
So, Mayor,
someday I wouldn't be shocked.
With just 1 minute left, two things. What can our viewers expect for tomorrow night and the State of the Union with you? And what is your closing message for the evening?
Well, my closing message is keep focused on 2024. We can't lose sight of that. That's got to be. We've got to be thinking about who our candidates are going to be, how we're going to get involved, how you're going to get involved. Don't just be upset. Do something about it. And, if you want to start with the school board, we're going to spend time over the next couple of months talking about the war on parents, because it's probably one of the most despicable things that's been done by the Bidenistas, the war on our parents and the way in which they're trying to take our children away from us, the way communists do and the way fascists do and the way Nazis do. And they want the state to make decisions about children. And that's the doing of the Communist Teachers Union and their supplicants, the Democrat Party. So we've got a lot of stuff to cover over the next 6 months as we get ready for 2024. But tomorrow night, let's see what we can get out of the State of the Union speech, what kind of hints we can get out of it, and in terms of where we're going in the next couple of months. Okay. Well, God bless you. And God bless America. And we'll be here with you tomorrow. And don't forget to go to my radio show at 3 o'clock on WABCRadio.com.